Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of we've got the show called what? What is the show called, gentlemen?
It's called Pre-Match Muti.
Wonga?
Yeah. The pre-match Muti. It's not working for some teams. It's working for mine. I don't know what Muti we use.
You got the right Muti there. I mean, it's also good to see Settle. He's been absent in a while.
I just missed last week's show. Come on, man. I had to.
Settle, what's going? Settle. I mean, Wonga, look at Settle. Yeah, but let's be honest. Yeah, how it feels like it's been a whole season, eh?
Man, I missed this last week's show. Come on, man. Work had me busy, man. Had a work function to attend last week. So unfortunately, I couldn't be on the show last week. But I'm back. I'm back with a bang. Wonga's ever present on every single show, but I think we know why.
Well, to be fair, he was present before. He was present in the dark days. Now the light days are super bright for him, as fresh as his haircut. That's what they're looking like.
Cool commitment. That's why we're winning.
That is why. I mean, it's consistency. That's what happens when you're consistent.
Love it, Wonga.
Yeah, good job there for you, Wonga. Today's show, for everyone joining us for the first time, we want to say thank you and welcome. And of course, today's show, we're going to be covering the new manager bounce in the Premier League. This is a topic dear to Settle's heart. He will be driving this one. We're going to be looking at Man City's financial fair play breaches, or what they've been charged with by the Premier League, how that impacts the Premier League, and of course, where do we go to from a fan's perspective. And then the most important one, if you're a South African sitting in this chat room today, is South African's Tourism Spurs sponsorship deal. And what that means. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it ethically just not on the right terms, and something we shouldn't even be discussing? So that's what we're going to be looking at today. But before we kick off, Wonga Denga, I mean, you are happy. Tell us what you're thinking on the weekend when your side lost, and yet the runners-up or the guys chasing you down also lost.
Yeah, look, I think it was actually better to see that Man City lost as well. But also, I had a funny thing. I just had a funny feeling before that Everton game. You got the new manager coming in, and like you guys are talking about now, the new bounce. It was, I don't know. It's a funny one, Claudio, because I would have loved to get an extra 3 points, but it's still the same. And so to be honest, I feel the same as I did before we entered the game. But I definitely would have loved, even if it was a draw, I would have preferred a draw rather than a loss against Everton. And Everton was so deep down there. We should have gotten something. But it was expected. The way they played was expected. You can't complain. It was disappointing for me either way. Yeah.
Well, disappointing for you, but I think it brings us to the topic that Silo wants to be covering today, is the new manager bounce. We've got Sean Dyche. He came in there and he got the results for Everton off the bat against the team that's leading the league. I mean, Silo, kick us off here. Why in particular did you want to cover this?
Yeah, and I think it's a topic that probably I've been wanting to cover, but I think even more so when Sean Dyche has taken over, and to a lesser extent with what happened with Leeds yesterday. So you guys will remember earlier on in the season, Steven Gerrard was fired from his role as manager of Aston Villa, and then the first game that they played for the new manager with Unai Emery was against Manchester United, and they won that game 3-1. That new manager bounce happened there for them. And then similarly with Arsenal now this past weekend, they played against Everton with a new manager. And also, just to add to that, is that both games they happen at that team's home ground, which even adds a lot more to the atmosphere. It's a new manager. It's like a fresh start for those teams. So Goodison Park and Villa Park for those 2 games particularly, you can just imagine you're a side, you're going there, you've got your own confidence, right? But this team now starting from scratch, and I think it's important that you need to think about the players as well. The players get a new manager, and then what do they think? They think to themselves, okay, now I've got a new manager. I need to impress this new manager so I can get some game time in this team, right? So you look at with Aston Villa, Tyrone Mings was stripped of the captaincy by Steven Gerrard at Villa, right? But then now when Unai Emery came, he starts again, right? He's starting again. He's a starter again in the side, and then what's happening? He's obviously trying to improve. He has a new lease on life, right? Some players maybe not favored as well in that new setup. But certain players now get a bit more game time. I know Leon Bailey got more game time with the new manager and so on and so forth. And Ollie Watkins has been a new man under Unai Emery. Then you flip it to Goodison Park. I know Seamus Coleman is the club captain, and he wasn't playing as regularly in that side. And what people are making jokes in terms of Sean Dyche, and that he's never seen players of African descent in his team ever again. But he played all three of those guys, and they dominated that pitch. Neither here nor there. And then yesterday with Leeds United, not a new manager bounce per se, but removing a Jesse Marsh and then coming with a new ideas with those, I think, the reserve side coach and the former assistant coach. But then let's flip it back just a little bit. Last season, Leeds survived because of hiring Jesse Marsh. That new manager bounce helped them survive. Everton similarly as well, that new manager bounce with Lampard helped them survive. So it's helped in the previous season, and now they're hoping that it will help them in this season. But I don't know what you guys think about that phenomena that we continuously seeing.
Yeah, I love to see it, but and it's interesting. I think it is there, so I don't think it's like it's like it's a fancy thing. I think it really is there, and I don't think it's different to what you said. I can't add more to it. But yeah, just for me, it came at the wrong time. And the fact that even I think Nick even mentioned the possibility of it happening. If they did, fire a Steven Gerrard, not a Steven Gerrard, man, a Frank Lampard before they meet Arsenal. The game would be tricky for us. And yeah, it did happen. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, it's a funny thing. Even with I think, but yeah, most managers like an Arsenal. I remember, I think when Arteta first came in, I think we also did. We started well. We started well with Arteta, obviously, and then he obviously stayed.
You won the FA Cup.
Yeah, but then obviously that dip came. Like maybe you can liken it to the Steven Gerrard's, Lampard as well. That dip is there. Even Thomas Tuchel came in there, won the Champions League, and then he started dipping. But then on the dip, they've kicked them all out. That's the only difference.
No, it definitely applies to the top half of the table as well. Ole, when he took over from at Man United, he won probably, I think, out of the first 10 games, he probably won 8 of the first 10 games that he was the manager. Tuchel as well won the Champions League. So yeah, it's something that any player gets a new lease of life with a new manager and just gets an opportunity to show their talents again. And maybe certain players are favored, but I think it's something that we might see continue this season if there's certain teams that feel that, listen, actually we may need to change a manager just before things go pear-shaped.
Eddie Howe is probably he has to be in a different category. Maybe you have to call it a new manager. I don't know, explosion. I don't know, but it's not a bounce. he's just shut up from the bottom.
The bounce has continued. The bounce has continued. It's one of those things where you throw like a bouncing ball down and it just keeps going up and just never comes back. So
it's like the Chinese spy balloon hovering across the United States before they shoot it down. That's as high as he is.
That's Eddie Howe.
I think we've got Louis back in studio with us for the first time in a long time. And it's largely because he wants to see what we're going to talk about the Man City side. We've got Nevada, who's finally happy that somewhat Aston Villa is getting mentioned from a new manager bouncer. Emery, should get some praise. But I think, Cyril, to your point, when we're looking at it, the strategy wouldn't take place if it didn't work. Especially in time of need, in times of crisis, these things do turn things around, largely because it's not just the players that get an uplift, it's the fans that get excited. So there's a little bit more energy, there's a little bit more to play for. And when you look at the circumstances, these things all add up. And it's no different in a working environment. Your performance might be down here. Now suddenly you get a new manager and you want to impress the guy to show your worth, and maybe you can get a promotion that you were never going to get under the old person. So all these things do, they play together. But what I want to focus on is the Sean Dyche sort of fit for Everton. Yeah, we know, I know we've given him a lot of slack in the past in terms of saying, he's a pub sort of manager, he recruits from the pub, etc., gives him fish and chips for when he's training. But I think last week there was someone who put a comment in saying the biggest signing for Everton this window was Sean Dyche. Largely because you've got a guy coming in there saying, thinking he's promised all this money, he's finally going to be able to sign players, not work on a budget or a shoestring, and then gets told you can't sign players. And he lands up at Everton that needs a man of conviction, needs a man to go. We're going to be practical, almost some sort of Allardyce-esque in a persona, which is quite interesting. Silo, your chat about him managing African players for the first time. If we're going to follow Sam Allardyce's footsteps, it might work out really well for him in his favor. Yeah. So I don't know what do you think in terms of he's going to be able to do that at Everton?
I think it's pretty interesting. Like one of the first things he did was he actually realized that the pitch at Goodison Park and the training ground weren't the same. Didn't have the same dimensions. So he made them fix that at the training ground, right? So he made sure that the training ground now is the same as Goodison Park, because you need to practice on the pitch that you're going to be playing on, basically, in terms of the dimensions. So he brought that in. They didn't water the pitch, apparently, so then it didn't with Arsenal's free-flowing game. So the balls weren't really flowing, playing quite well. I know. On Monday they'll probably do the same against Liverpool if they're playing at Goodison, or they're playing at Anfield.
Playing at Anfield, yeah.
Okay, they play at Anfield, but yeah, if it was at Goodison, he would definitely do that against Klopp, because I know Klopp also hates that the whole thing of not watering the pitch. So
please let's not even talk about the Liverpool game coming up, because that's not going to be a good one for us. I can tell you that much now.
So I think it's a great appointment as a manager, because I think he's such a simplistic manager. He can do a lot with the tools given to him. I think in the past he's done great work with your Ben Mees of this world, your Jay Rodriguez's of the world, your Chris Wood and Barnes and all these other guys who are probably not as fancied in terms of their style of football. But I think with the tools that he has at Everton, they just need obviously a couple of goals. So I think if Calvert-Lewin can rediscover his form, play to his strengths, they should be sorted, because I think.
Could you imagine, Cyril, he managed to get goals out of Chris Wood, or get results with having Chris Wood leading the line? Surely he's going to get something here with Everton.
He has to. If Calvert-Lewin can just rediscover his form, I think they sorted, because their midfield trio is very good. Ghana Gay and Decore, and then Onana. Onana's a beast. Onana, there was a rumor that he might have left in the January transfer window and possibly go to Newcastle. I can definitely see him going to a top 6 side next season. He's one of the upcoming exciting Belgian players coming through. So I think that it's going to definitely stir up things. I know a couple of us said that Everton will be relegated this season, but I think we should definitely revisit that with Sean Dyche being at the helm, because that information wasn't with us at that time.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at it. That's why this league is hectic, because if you say Everton doesn't go down, then who are you pulling down in there? You know what I mean? The other teams above them are, I think, also performing well. I mean, okay, maybe there's a Leeds. Also have to see how those guys are going to do. But yeah, I agree with that point. Do you guys also think that that they've chosen? I mean, look, I think they had Arsenal. Now they got Liverpool next, right? Do you think they fired Lampard
100%
this specific time?
Yeah, definitely. I know where you're going with this. Definitely.
It's a free hit. It's a free hit for the new manager.
Yeah, and also it plays into their favor if you think about it. I mean, motivating players for the smaller games is always a trickier thing. Now you got a bigger game. You can't exactly, if they're not going to show up for the manager in the big game, then they're never going to show up. Then you know for a fact the issue is with the players. So it's a thing where you've got this manager. It's to Cyril's point of him being simple. He's simplifying everything. This club is in complete turmoil from top to bottom. No one's making the proper decisions. No one's standing for him. You've got this guy who's come in, who's been begging for a second chance in the Premier League. Let's be honest. No one was throwing that bone at him. People are overlooking him for many reasons, because he's got the stigma attached to the type of manager that he is.
Deserves it.
And now he's gone to a club that I think fits him to the T in terms of when you look at what he has been able to do to Jurgen Klopp in Liverpool in the past. He was always with Burnley. He was Jurgen Klopp's kryptonite. Now he's gone to an Everton where he can do exactly the same thing, where the fans are going to buy into it, and he's not going to just roll over and die. The other managers previously in Everton's sort of shoes went, they're playing Liverpool. It's a bigger club. It's hard to compete. Sean Dyche, I'm telling you now, coming in on Monday, he's going to go, we can get a result here, largely because Liverpool are really poor at the minute. So we're definitely going to sink our teeth into this and walk away with something. And I can tell you now that players are going to get in the back of that. And that's just the attitude the guy has in terms of, forget about what he's done with them on the training ground. First thing he did there when he walked in is he made the players do a fitness test. He said he condensed 5 weeks of training into a space of a week, and he made these guys run. Imagine being flat, Wonga, going, we're not getting results here. And the first thing the new guy says is, you know what, you're going to run. I'm going to see who's fit enough, firstly, and secondly, who wants it bad enough. Because the guys that I'm finishing in my first 11 in the bleep test, they're the ones that are going to be starting. I mean, imagine that. This is what this guy's done during mid-season.
Simple as that. Nothing complicated, eh? Which I love.
Yeah.
Which I love. Definitely, he's definitely of the ilk of Sam Allardyce. Definitely, those managers who help you survive. You know, I think we can term him a relegation specialist if we can help Everton survive. Because Burnley was in the Premier League for about 7 seasons, I think, with him, and he was always like, playing around with relegation, except for like 1 season when he made Europa League. But he's always been that guy who can get things done.
And it's going to be interesting seeing him with a budget as well, for the first time I think he's ever had for a long time. So let's see how that plays out. I mean, the other managers that you largely spoke about, because this topic was an interesting one. I mean, Julian, how do you pronounce his name? Lopetegui.
Let me just give the numbers quickly for everyone. So if you look at Julian Lopetegui, he's managed 6 games and he's gotten 1.67 points per match, as opposed to Bruno Lage, who he took over from, who got 0.75 points per match, and he had managed 8 games. So Julian Lopetegui as well, his first game in charge for Wolves was a cup game, but the league game was against Everton, and they won 2-1. So another 3 managers that have taken over in their first Premier League game, they won the game. So they won 2-1. And obviously subsequent to that, I think he's done quite well. He beat some other red team this past weekend 3-0, so he's done quite well for himself. So he's let me just check the numbers. He's gotten they were in the relegation zone with 6 points from 8 matches, and then since he's taken over, they lost 3 games. They've beaten West Ham and Liverpool. So that shows, man. I think it's a winning formula. I think Southampton did it the wrong way though, because their new manager is doing worse. Is doing worse
Nathan
than
Jones.
He's doing worse than, but I think, guys, how do you guys get a manager from the Championship to come and coach the Premier League in the middle of the season, guys? Does that make sense to you guys?
No, but I do think there's a direct correlation there. I think, to your point, the new manager bounce works if you've got a man with experience who's been in a situation similar before, who knows what he's doing. I mean, when we look at Unai Emery doing the job at Aston Villa, but when he went to Arsenal, it wasn't quite the same. Why? Because despite his experience, he's never been at a bigger club, bigger team with more pressure. Now he's come into a team mid-table. He knows how to get the best out of it. It's a formula, tried and tested in his mind. He goes, I know exactly where to put A, where to put B, and how to make this train go off the tracks. When we're looking at the other guy, Nathan Jones, to your point, this guy stepped into the similar situation of what Unai Emery did when he was at Arsenal, into a position where people are already asking the question, is he the right man for the job? Does he have the experience? And now he's come in, the players are doing, if everyone else is saying that, the players are saying the same thing.
The players.
100%. So it's just getting everyone on side. But that's an interesting sort of perspective there. I think, Wonga, we're now going to move over to the next topic. And the next one's quite an interesting one. It's one that's been mentioned for a long time. We know this. This is a topic of contention. It's the Man City financial fair play breaching, and it's something that the Premier League have not gone after them. I mean, overall, what's your first opinion before we dive into the nitty-gritty there and settle to follow through in terms of what he thinks?
Yeah, my opinion, I think it's, to hear about it, I think it's quite sad. Really, to be honest with you. I mean, it's over 10 years. But again,
from 1 to 10 sadness, what kind of sadness is it? Is it like you've just bought a new ice cream and it's fallen on the floor and you haven't been able to eat it? Or is it like, it's sad, but I'm still going to be all right. I'm going to pick the ice cream off the floor.
Look, it's sad, but I'm still all right. I mean, it's why I say it's sad is just the thing of, we know English Premier League is probably the best product in the world. And here, these guys, now they've come here. And look, I mean, the rules were clear. I mean, you can see other teams you're getting teams which are doing well. I mean, like you get a Brighton, who are trying to do things by the book. And I mean, they're doing well. I mean, this season, but I mean, it's them trying, year in, year out, and they've got the rules in place. Here's Man City. They've got a lot of money, and instead of spending that, I mean, instead of trying to make it work, now they're trying to cheat. Not that they're trying to, then they go and they cheat. And for now, it's gonna leave a huge. How can I put it? It's gonna leave holes for everyone. I mean, now Liverpool, like let's say they say they give the league back to Liverpool or Man United during those years. I mean, you as a Liverpool fan, I mean, you're gonna go, yay, okay, but I mean, that time is gone. It's in history. They've cheated you. They succeed in cheating you. You can't, like, that moment when Aguero scores that goal. I mean, even people are questioning that now. They're saying that whole situation. I've seen these conspiracies. The whole situation. They're saying that whole match was rigged. QPR.
That match was rigged. As soon as QPR found out that they were safe, they just downed tools. They just relaxed. They just literally they centered the ball and kicked it straight to City, and City scored. You know what I mean? How? You must watch
to
that
be
game
fair,
again.
Settle, but to be fair,
No,
Joey Barton's also playing for QPR at the time, so it wouldn't surprise me if he took one or two, took some cash bundles out of the table there.
100%. That's true. That's true as well.
Yeah.
But now you see, looking at all of that, and it's disappointing, man. Let me say it's disappointing more, than sad. And even now, but again, Arsenal. Hopefully they going according to the FFP rules, but I mean they're doing. I mean, against the team that's broken all these rules, it's we we are pushing hard. Like I always tell people, look, guys, we are top of the league, yeah. People think Man City is doing poorly, but look, guys, we've only lost. We've lost two and drawn one and drawn one.
How did you make this
and
about
the rest of
Arsenal's
wins?
success this
But
season?
I knew Klaus was going to say this. Let me finish.
We're talking about
That's your one good season.
Not.
Yeah. Look, maybe I'm rambling for too long, but I think
no, it's fine. It's fine, Wonga. I think what you're saying is when we're looking at it, Wenger, to be fair, played according to the rule book, and he was handicapped because of it, and the frustration for all the years from Arsenal fans and everyone else, despite the fact he was towing the line, stemmed from that. So if he could also, manipulate the rules a little bit, you'd still be manager. Who knows? Yeah,
definitely. But yeah, it's killed everyone. That's one spot. That's a Champions League spot. That's the trophy. That definitely meant. I mean, those maybe Arsenal suffered from it. Tottenham suffered from it. One person's out the Champions League. You have to go play Europa. It's a huge cock up. You cannot rectify the nonsense that Man City has done now, and it shows you the dangers of what money can do to a league.
But Wonga, this is no surprise. This has been happening. Everyone knows it's been happening. It's interesting that you've come out with these comments now saying it's all disappointing because they've been charged. So, what do you think here?
Hey man, we've been talking about it for the longest time, guys.
Yeah.
And if you guys obviously saw the football money list last season, guys, in terms of Man City making more revenue than Real Madrid and Manchester United. In what world does that make sense, guys? So now it's even more brazen. You know what I mean? At least in the past they were like, okay, cool. We're like number 7 in the world, number 6 in the world, number 5 in the world. It makes a little bit more sense. But obviously the rumors are that your Roberto Mancini's, when he was still the manager, was getting paid in a separate account type of thing. Some players were also probably also benefiting in some way or form to be incentivized to join Man City. But I think in football, we've got a lot of scandals, especially in Italy. And I think we must look towards Italy for guidance in terms of how we can sanction teams in terms of when they've done wrongdoing in the past. Cool. This is not a match fixing scandal, but this is a monetary, financial scandal. So Juventus, I don't know if you guys saw with the Juventus scandal, they presented to say that certain players were earning X amount, but the actual fact, the players were actually earning more than what was presented on the financials, right? So let's say Cristiano was said to be earning 20 million euros per season, but actual fact he was earning 30 million euros, right? And then Juventus has now gotten a 15 points deduction this season. Italy, you do something wrong, they act 15 points deduction this season, and then let's move on forward. You know what I mean? I think the Premier
Yeah.
League needs to do something similar. Man City gets a fine and a points deduction this season, right?
Yes.
And then we can maybe do a ban of you can't sign players for the next window or something, and then we can move forward. But there has to be ramifications around this. You can't just obviously
But
do
Silo,
as
I
you
think
wish.
this is the issue here. It can't take place this season. Largely because it's going to be a similar situation as to what happened from the Champions League perspective. Champions League said, cool, we've got this evidence, we've got this, we're going to take them to court. You know, Man City paid for the lawyers, they delayed the process. When the ruling was given, they overturned it because they had enough money to get the right legal team in place to do the same thing. So all that's going to happen here, and one of the charges they've been accused of, is making it very difficult for the Premier League to audit the way in which they do their business. So they've been doing it for the last 4 seasons. That's why it's taken so long. So this is going to be an overnight matter. This is going to draw out possibly into the end of next season because they've got the financial power to do that and say, you know what, sleep. The thing is, I suppose the question is with regards to if it did happen immediately and we looked at it and we said, cool, there would be a ruling next week. From your perspective, what would you think would be the ideal ruling? And I'm going to start with Wonga and then I'll hear your thoughts there, Silo.
Oh, I wish they put me on that panel because I would say they must go straight. They must go straight to relegation zone and they must give them -10 points from the bottom, from the person at the bottom, and then we can go from there.
Yo, -10 from Southampton. That means they only have 2. What? How many points does Southampton have? Southampton's got 15 points, so they'll have 5 points then. Damn.
Yeah, -10 from the bottom, and then they must. What's another one? Obviously, they'll have to fine them as well because they've cheated in the money. But you can't fine them £50 million. It must be reasonable. They must feel it. They must feel everything. Yeah. Then it's justified, I believe.
I feel it should be minus 15 points from their current position, which would still be above Liverpool and Chelsea, and then get a 50 million pound fine, and then be not allowed to sign.
How would you come to the amount 50?
It's just a guesstimate because UEFA tried to do it as 30 million euros and then end up being 10 million euros, and then obviously they got the decision. The decision that the Court of Arbitration of Sport went from 30 to 10, but in the Premier League issue they actually can't take this to Court of Arbitration for Sport because the Premier League rules doesn't allow that, which is good. The figure is just a guesstimate, but I think they shouldn't be allowed to sign players in the next 2 transfer windows, along with the 15-point deduction.
So you're saying
Claudio, what
financial fine, point deduction, as well as a transfer ban?
100%, all 3. I know it won't happen.
Transfer ban, definitely.
But if I picked any of those ones, I would pick the 15-point one.
No, but you know, Louis asking there, what am I smoking? I mean, they've been dodging these guys left, right, and center the whole time, and many people suspected it. I remember even people who'd. Although I can't remember when I saw this, I didn't think much of it. I didn't think it was actually that possible, but look, it's coming out. But I saw a video of someone who actually was showing how Man City was falsely, you know, they were setting up businesses, they were using false people to be part of that. Yeah, so they're having false sponsors. They'll just use someone stupid and say this is the guy, and then the money was coming in.
The same thing very shortly. You watch out from Saudi.
So yeah, but like they must go rock bottom.
You know,
let highlights score the goals.
You know, Newcastle must try to be clever, right? Newcastle must just get Saudi Aramco to be their sponsor, right? Because at least that makes sense. Because at least Saudi Aramco is the biggest company in the world. It's the biggest oil producer in the world. If they get them just to sponsor them, it will make sense and you can make it the sponsorship deal anything, right? They must be clever. They must not create fake companies, you know what I mean? Because Man City created some companies, guys. They created a betting company that doesn't even have an address. Like, what the heck, guys? You know what I mean? Those are just some random Abu Dhabi betting company, you know what I mean? It's crazy. Claudio, what do you think in terms of the potential fine or suspension or whatever?
Geez, look, to be honest, this whole story bores me, and I'm not excited about any of it because I think it's going to be the same situation as what happened with UEFA. It's going to be a slap on the wrist. Oh, charge them £10 million because they got a fantastic legal team that will be representing them. But I think ideally, also, I think it's a very tricky one because I suppose I would like to ask you guys the question in terms of if you're looking at what happened to Man City, would have happened to your club and operated in the same fashion, and you would have had the same success that they've had over these last couple of years, what would your reaction be now to all these
Uh,
charges? Because
I'll
I
be
mean that does
disgusted.
change. You'd be
I'll be
disgusted.
disgusted, to be honest. Yeah, and I mean, look, think about the
Yeah.
fans that are there. I think if you're looking at, for me, it's even with. I think the fans must start waking up as well now. You know, even with this, with when the Super League came, for me, I won't lie to you, I was for it. I want to see more of those games. You know, but the guys who are staying there, the guys who think that they are part of the,
Ooh,
they are
sorry.
part of the club, like
Sorry, James.
they feel that they're part of the club. They, imagine how out of touch they must feel now. Well, if they do, I mean, you'd think they'd have some say over what's happening in these clubs, but you don't. I mean, the money speaks. You don't have the money. The guy will come in there. He's the guy who buys the club. You guys cheer them on. They just try and make you guys happy. Oh, you said they buy this player. Oh, now you guys are happy. And that's exactly what showed. Man City fans, I don't know if anyone questioned what they were doing, but
I
now
suppose,
look
you know,
what
Wonga,
the
the
numbers that
question
they're
is,
in now.
would Louis be supporting Man City, for example, if they didn't have the success with all this financial
Success.
doping? Maybe that's also the question that we've got to be asking. But I suppose from
Yeah.
a diehard, salt-of-the-earth fan perspective, in terms of being a Manchester City fan, and if you look at what Pep Guardiola's come out saying, he said he's asked these people to be, or the board, all the rest of them to be transparent with him. If it turns out that they've been lying to him, then he will leave. And I think that's also like sort of saving face a little bit because I think he knows more than what he's letting on, to be fair. And I think everyone at that club knows what's going on. Pep Guardiola
Yeah.
coming out saying he doesn't know what's going on and they've been honest with him.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah,
But
it's impossible.
what is quite interesting is when we're looking at it and said, I like your sort of conclusion going, you know, point deduction and plus fine and plus suspension. I think what they need to do is whatever the fine is going to be financially, because that's probably the most likely. I think they're going to avoid point deductions. I think the fine needs to be enough to cripple their books for that season so that they are affected in terms of going, they can't spend more than what they've done to buy players. The only issue is now they've built a very successful club, and I'm very impressed with how they've done everything behind the scenes. Obviously, they've had this sort of cash injection to be able to do so, but they've set up the right sort of foundation in order to reap revenue in the right places. Obviously, the biggest issue is how they've juked the sponsorship section, which makes easily up to 60% of their revenue, which is the big one, the big elephant in the room. But the other areas, I think they could get away with it. But I think like a 2-season sort of, you know, transfer ban, it would also be interesting to see if they would still be able to attract the caliber of players that they do. With, say, they are accused of this, and if Pep is man of his word, he walks, then what happens in terms of not being able to sign players, and what do they do then? That's an interesting sort of prospect. Not that this is going to happen.
Point
Yeah,
deduction.
true. No, true. It'll be interesting. I think they've
They must do it.
as you said, they've done quite well. New training facilities for the club, signing, getting the
True.
right young players into the squad, into the teams. Like a lot of the young players in Europe that are doing quite well now are Man City products. You know what I mean? You've got your Rico Lewis's, Jadon Sancho's. You know what I mean? And then you've got some of the Southampton guys are Man City products. They've got like Bad clauses there, so they're producing actually good talent. But I think, yeah, man, this says a lot about them. And if it was my club, I'll be disgusted.
But also, they've got, I mean, if you got to talk about, you spoke about the Deloitte Money League there, Silo. I mean, the fact of the matter is, Man City, as things stand, are an elite club, if not one of the best, if not the best team. I mean, footballing
Top
side.
3.
I'm not saying heritage. I mean, they've built the heritage
Arsenal
over the last
first.
couple of years, and you got to look at what that does with regards to Gen Z and the attraction of not necessarily
Easily.
your diehard fans,
Easily.
but your satellite fans. You know, so moving forward, I mean, they surely, I mean, Premier League also need to be careful in terms of how they balance this. I'm not saying Man City are the Premier League, but in terms of how does it affect the package, in terms of what the Premier League package is, if they relegate Man City, hypothetically. I mean, would people say, it's not going to be the same because they're not there? And I mean, I'm talking, we millennials, so we've got that sort of, that gap between, we're in between. We're loyalists, we're traditionalists, but we also embrace the modern. Obviously, the Gen Z, it would be interesting to see how that impacts that and the decision behind that from the Premier League side. I mean, Would you go hard like that, knowing it's going to affect my bottom line?
I hear what you mean. The fact that the numbers might diminish. That's why I was thinking that the points deduction will probably be the route that I would go, because at least that it still keeps them in the competition, right? But they get the points deduction, right? Mwanga, I know obviously you feel otherwise. But I think also don't forget that this is only the period up until 2018, 2019. So if they can still get more information about the period from 2019, 2020 till now, then I think that also must come into a different time now. This must just be for this, and they find other breaches for the other one, then there must be different punishment. Because also we need to set a precedent, guys. We can't just allow clubs to do this, right? Similarly, your Everton's as well. Everton has breached financial fair play rules. Cool. They've not done like the illegal money type of thing, but Everton is spending more money than they're actually making. They're not. It's catching up to them because they've spent wildly. And probably why they didn't really sign a player in this window as well.
For me, if you're worrying about like this that's why I say when it goes back to the fans and stuff. This is what that Super League was, and all these guys have no say in what these things are, these clubs are doing, because now if now the league is worried about, oh no, what's it going to do to our image if our people are going to watch, that shouldn't be. I feel it shouldn't be what they're worried about. They must be worried about the fairness, and they must show that. Look, I mean, whatever. I mean, if they go according to the book, they mustn't now listen it because it's going to I mean, affect their views. They must look at what they've done. They go to the rule book and they say this is the consequences. Cheers, Man City. You see in the championship, if that's the case, we see in the championship next season. If it's gonna make viewership less, that must just be a consequence of what you guys are doing. They must do exactly what they did with La Liga did with Messi as well, when they said, "Cheers, bud."
To be fair, I was just being devil's advocate. I don't think they're going to be impacted that greatly if that does happen, because the likelihood is Man City will bounce back regardless of what this is.
True.
But gentlemen, we're going to move over to the next sort of diabolical statement that rocked South African news, especially from a sporting perspective. We're going to look at this. The SA Tourism Spurs sponsorship proposal. Silo, I mean, you're a man of the people. You're always out in social gigs, and lately on a Thursday evening. So let's start with you.
Come on, stop it, man. Come on, stop it, man. Listen, why you have to be like that, man?
You're also involved in, like good financial institutions. The ins and the outs of the money flowing here in the country. So, let's kick off here. Does this proposal make sense? Where are you sitting from your side of the table, and how are you going to put this message forward to all of us?
A good idea in theory, guys. A good idea in theory is what I'm saying. I say it's a good idea in theory because, right, I see where their thinking was in terms of Tottenham Hotspur is a top 6 side in England, right? Cool. Yes, in South Africa, Tottenham Hotspur is not a big team because, obviously it's not one of the big supported sides like your Arsenal, Man United, Liverpool, and Chelsea. I think those are the 4 biggest supported sides in South Africa from an English Premiership perspective. And Tottenham's not even number 5, probably. I could be wrong. But in theory, because Tottenham's global reach is actually so big, right? I think it was a good idea in theory. Cool. You look at other sponsorship deals like Visit Rwanda, which is on Arsenal's sleeve, and Visit Rwanda is also on PSG sleeve, right? These deals have shown apparently a 16% increase in tourism numbers to Rwanda, right? That's the numbers. That's the numbers that they say it's shown that increase, right? So us putting, some funds into Tottenham Hotspur and putting it on Tottenham Hotspur's sleeve, right, on Spurs' sleeve, I thought was a good idea initially, right? But we need to then look at what's going on in South Africa, right? I think because of what's going on in South Africa, I think that yes, this budget is a tourism budget, right? I'm not saying that they must reappropriate that funds and take it elsewhere, because tourism has its own budget for its own reasons and it's got its own economy, right? I feel that there'll be an uproar because South Africans feel that it's a lot of money spent at one one initiative, right? Because the 1 billion rand deal was going to be basically the half the tourism budget, basically. I feel that they could have rather spent this money and then maybe put it in certain pockets of tourism. Maybe, yes, the sports side of things. Find another sports vehicle to try and utilize it as a sponsor. To sponsor that particular sports vehicle, and maybe add funds to other initiatives. I think that could have worked. But I think if South Africa was in a better financial position as a country, low load shedding and everything like that, and we had a little bit more funds and everything was actually a bit more positive in the country, I say go for it. Because if you think about it, guys, they said that when Spurs goes on tour to any place apart from Asia, right, we would be involved in that tour. So they go to the US, we're involved in the tour. It says there's Visit South Africa all over.
Where their biggest reach is in Asia because of Son. We're not going to be involved in that one. How's that?
Yeah, so they excluded us from Asia. But then, for instance, then we would have Spurs come to South Africa for preseason games and like winter break games as well, type of thing. They would come to South Africa. We would have access to 3 of their players in terms of marketing collateral every single season. That part where they said any 3 players, I know they said 3 players. I was like, but guys, we want Harry Kane. Like if like it's either Harry Kane or nothing. Man. Like
they won't,
you don't have Harry Kane,
they won't give you Harry Kane. I can tell you that.
They won't give you Harry Kane. They won't give you Harry Kane, no. which I feel is very disappointing, because I think you should be able to pick and choose that you want Harry Kane, Son, and then you want maybe do they have an American player? Maybe like an American player, but I don't think they have an American player. But you'd probably pick a European, like one of the European stars or something, maybe a Hugo Lloris or whatever. But yeah, I understood it, guys. But I think not wrong timing.
Yeah, I think I agree with Silo. Yeah, definitely. Wrong timing again as well. I mean, it's going to be a 3-year deal, and once they commit to it, they said the budget is going to be 38. It's going to be 38% of the marketing tourism budget, and that's gone for the next 3 years. But nonetheless, it's you can't, like Sila said, you can't. It's just like I mean who's the Timber Kumalo. He was that's the CEO of the acting CEO of the tourism company. He was saying that I mean, he went up there and he was adamant. I mean, it was a good idea, what. But I mean, and he was saying he tried to separate the tourism guys from the energy guys. But it's South Africa as a whole. It's like when you're running a home, and the car's broken down, the kids want to go. Let's say your budget is tight at the moment. Your car's not working, and now in fact, you haven't paid your electricity bill. In fact, that's what happened in the country. The electricity is not working. But now the kids want to go to a movie. The kids want to go see a movie. They can't go see the movie. You must sort out the goddamn electricity bill where they are at. Stop worrying about people. Come to sit out, fix your home. And then, I think that's just what I think. That's what the South Africans are saying. Fix our home first, where we are at. The problems we have here, and then when you are good, we will go out. I can't lie. The benefits of it. It's a very interesting thing to do. I think it's a nice project to go around about, but it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and I think they need to.
Claudio, you study these things, man. You should tell us what's your thoughts around this. I think you probably have a nice thought in terms of the whole brand and strategy and marketing side of things.
Yeah, look, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to study it, but also been involved in the other end of it from like working with some sponsorship rights holders and working with Premier League clubs. And I think when you're looking at it on paper, it sounds very glamorous. It's promising. It's all these things, but in reality, there's all these terms where what you're putting down, you're not really getting out. So the fact that you've already mentioned Harry Kane, the likelihood of you getting a Harry Kane coming out is very, very minimal. What you'd likely get is an academy player who's on the fringe of the first team, a player who's not really regular in the first team, and then maybe a player who plays in the first team, but he's not a guaranteed favorite. And that's normally what you get stuck with. So all you're paying in essence, and I mean roughly the 1 billion rand mark.
You get a what's this guy's name, man? Oliver Skip.
Yeah, you get something like that, right? And all it's really equating to, and I mean, in South African sense, like 1 billion rand can go a long way if hands aren't put into that pocket. But I mean, it's 47 million pounds. And when you're looking at it specifically, when you're looking at a top four sort of situation or top five situation where these clubs are at, your top clubs, your Man United, your Liverpools, they're getting between that much 40 to 50 million bracket. So that's the top end. That's the higher end of where your sponsorship deal is. Your other clubs, your Newcastles prior to the Saudi deal, they're getting about 10 million, and that's for the season. So what you have right now, and even when we're looking at Chelsea are looking for a new shirt sponsor, even Man United now are looking for a new shirt sponsor with Team Viewer opting to relinquish their rights within the 3-year deal. When you have a 3-year deal, in terms of what you're spending, you've got to look at where that leaves you in terms of brand recognition, brand awareness, perception, loyalty, and again, the conversion rate. And this is where it's a gamble on the conversion. We're naturally assuming we're going to spend this money, it's going to be seen on the sleeve, that's going to convert to X. That doesn't mean anything, especially when you got a short-term deal. I mean, Bonga Dingo, who is your sponsor in the year 2000 on the shirt?
Wasn't it Dreamcast or something, isn't it?
My point is the fact that this isn't rolling off the tongue, and it's not.
I was really watching Arsenal back then, to be honest with you, but I won't remember exactly.
But my point is, it's quite a tricky situation. When you've mentioned Visit Rwanda, Silo, and that's a fantastic conversation because I was speaking to someone else here who knows her stuff, and she was saying Visit Rwanda is an interesting deal when we're looking at the fact that the country is thriving at this moment in time. A large portion of their income comes from agriculture and energy. So they've got the luxury to go, we're going to spend this money in these areas and then attract more people. We don't have a luxury. And the problem is when you're looking at it again, it's again to the conversion saying, yes, are these numbers guaranteed to come in here? And again, when we're just looking at it, if you're going to spend that money, right? So even forget about Spurs. If we change this narrative and we say it's Man United, people might be more excited about that and say, let's go for it. But even then, if you're looking at a 3-year deal, what they have in their clause is going, cool. If they're not happy with it, they've all these top clubs had this clause where it says, okay, if another company comes in and A decides to match that proposal, match that sponsorship deal, and possibly even up it, they've got every right to terminate that contract. So it could be a case where South Africa's gone, okay, 47 million pounds for the 3-year deal. Next season, forget about Rwanda. America goes, it's 2026 World Cup. Visit America for 2026 for 48 billion pounds. Man United have it all in their rights to say, cool, we're going to terminate this. So a lot of power is given to these Premier League clubs, largely because of broadcasting. But like I said, right now, as things stand, there's a good 6 or 7 Premier League clubs that are all looking for, new sponsorship shirt deals. I mean, we've still got Nottingham Forest who don't have a shirt deal. And of the 20 Premier League clubs, we've got 8 of them that are all sponsored by betting clubs or betting companies.
Is a conflict of interest. Which they want to look into.
Which you have to look into because, I mean, if you're going to go after Man City for saying these financial fair play rules, ethically, what's the difference between that and gambling and all the rest of it? So where do we start drawing the lines with it? And then the question I've got to ask you guys is if we're looking at shirt sponsorships, I mean, who is ideally the right partner to have as a football club on your shirt? And how do these clubs go about associating their brands with the right partner to leverage both parties equally? And I suppose, I know I'm asking a lot of questions, but Cyril, in terms of your head from a Manchester United perspective, other than an airline who's going to say, well, we're going to fly tourists into the country to go watch Man United play, who is the right deal?
It's so tough. It's so tough because obviously I think look at TeamViewer, right? TeamViewer, I never knew of TeamViewer before, right? So I've now become aware of TeamViewer, right? I've got now awareness of TeamViewer, but they themselves as a company didn't realize that actually this was a mistake. We've now put so much money into this club, right? But are we actually going to get the returns that we actually forecasted, right? But I think, we always say, I think the bigger brands in this world that maybe need a bit more recognition in certain markets are the brands that you probably should be working with. So, you've seen your American brands, for instance, trying to get leverage in Europe, or your European brands trying to get a foothold in Asia or something like that. So I think those are probably the brands that you look at. Obviously, I think the airline story has been continuous. They've been strong. Your Etihad, your Fly Emirates, Turkish doesn't really do shirt deals. They just the airline partner. So I think it would be quite interesting. Obviously, there was a time when telecommunications companies were obviously, I think probably had the bigger profits. but I like financial services. I'm a financial services guy, so a financial services company on the shirt makes a lot of sense.
Standard Chartered.
I don't know. Wait,
Yeah.
HSBC. You guys have Standard Chartered, so HSBC maybe on the or JP Morgan across here or something like that. Bank of America. These big multinational banks or Standard Bank.
Yeah, Standard Bank. But I suppose you see that makes sense when you're looking. And for me, the huge flag is this: SA Tourism said cool, they're going to sponsor Spurs. If you got them looking at that, and you got Man United having TeamViewer, a tech company now, understandably where the market is right now, all tech companies are taking cuts, or most of them anyway are taking cuts. But if they weren't able to achieve what they needed to achieve with a club like Man United in the spell that they had, and you got to look at it, what they're putting into Man United, that's at least like 30 to 40% of their revenue that they're pumping into Man United. From a Man United perspective, that sponsorship equates to what, 10 to 15% of what they're taking from this company. So again, it comes to the tier of the sponsorship. What do you get out of it? And again, the guaranteed conversion. Awareness, it's great. And I think your point from the financial sort of fintech, or not even a fintech, a financial perspective makes sense, because say as a Liverpool fan, I'm going Standard Chartered, I don't know, whatever. But now if I'm say immigrating to the UK or something,
you open up a bank account
with Standard Chartered, because I know that's the first thing that's going to pop into my head, hypothetically. So I mean, that's a good marriage.
If you look at it how okay, in South African context, right? South African context is even wilder, guys. The fact that we have a SuperSport United, guys, literally that club was used as a marketing tool for MultiChoice. They literally said we're gonna own a club, right, to market our channel, and that's how SuperSport has become such a big channel, by having a football club. And then now they want to exit because now everyone knows what SuperSport is, and now they've sponsored. They've put too much money into soccer. They've got DStv Premiership and all of that. So they're now going to be the sponsor of the league and not sponsor of the club, because the SuperSport story has grown, and it's a child now, and it's an adult now. You don't need to. And then you look at Chiefs and Pirates have the Vodacom sponsorship for the longest time, guys.
Yeah, exactly.
But those sponsorships continue because it's such an easy marriage between the two. You get one of the biggest telecommunications companies in the country, and then two big clubs, and people just it's grown with those telecommunications companies, and it's just an easy marriage. And they've got SIM cards and all of these things and activations, all of that. And but Vodacom is also a big sponsor in sports in general. It sponsors rugby, it sponsors soccer, so it's also in that sporting fraternity, and I think they probably also know how to leverage off those sponsorships.
Correct, gentlemen. That wraps up that conversation. We're going to move over to the final segment of our show, and which is normally the best part of the pre-match community, is the betting corner. We're going to make our predictions and give our views on the upcoming fixtures. It is an interesting time in the league. We've got Arsenal still pushing for the title, but the first game is West Ham Chelsea.
Arsenal.
Goalloungetv, tell us your thoughts, and it's a quick fire. Then we hear Settle, and then obviously we'll move on to me.
Yeah, these teams, Chelsea and them. Chelsea's absolute garbage. West Ham, what a team to bounce up against. I think
garbage.
I would say 2-1 to West Ham.
Moyes going to get something there for Goalloungetv.
Guys, Chelsea need a win, guys. They need a win so badly. Moyes also needs a win. So, I'm going for a 1-1 draw, guys.
Yeah, Silo, I think that's a good shot, because I think Potter will take a draw, not a loss, and the same thing for David Moyes. And the last game was a draw for David Moyes. So, yeah, 1-1's a fair. But the question is with Chelsea, I mean, who's going to score their goal there, Silo?
Nonsense. Not even a Aubameyang.
Is Joao Felix back? Or does he have one more game?
One more game.
Come back. I think it's another game.
Then it's tough, guys. I think, who scores in that team? Actually, I actually don't even know, guys, because now they're even turning against Mount. So I don't even know who scores. I think a centre back scores a header from a corner.
Centre back scores 1-1. I'm going to go with a West Ham victory. I'm going to say it's going to be 1-0. Big game for you, Goalloungetv. Now, Brentford are doing well.
The startup team.
They're 7th at the moment. Good form. I mean, what is it? Jeepers. They haven't lost the game in 5, Brentford. I mean, let's also not undermine them. They've drawn 1 and won 4.
No, hey, Look, I think us definitely look. We humbled them after they beat us. I think we've learned from for that mistake, and I think they'll definitely find it difficult. Arsenal, we've just lost. We've lost one game. We need to bounce back, and I think we'll do it. These guys are on something different this year, and I think Arsenal will take it. I think it'll be 2-0. I don't think it might be as big as last time because Brentford were horrible against Arsenal the last game. No, they were horrid. They'll bring something, but when Nketiah is there, the way that guy's firing, I think 2-0. He probably seen Jesus warming up. He's running again. So hey, he's gotta put the stuff in the back of the net quickly. So I definitely think it's 2-0.
Yeah, no, I think it'll be 2-1 to the Gunners. The startup team is good, but I think if they were playing at the what is their stadium called? What's their stadium called? The Vita? Is it not the Vita? Is it Vita Stadium?
No, that's Bournemouth.
But that's Bournemouth. What's their stadium called? But whatever their stadium is called, if they were playing at that stadium, then I would have changed my result. But it's 2-1 to the Gunners.
The stadium's called the Brentford Community Stadium, but the actual name is GTEC.
Oh, Community
Stadium. Yeah.
Okay. Brentford Community Stadium. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to go with an Arsenal victory.
Claudio?
Yeah. Yep, Arsenal victory. I'm going to say I'm actually thinking the same thing there. Settle 2-1 victory. I mean, I'd like to see the bees, leave a bit of a sting there in Arteta's backside and walk away with something. All right, Leeds versus Man United. This is an interesting one. Is the bounce? So we're going to see that bounce settle. Is that why you mentioned this as a topic?
No, listen. I mentioned this as a topic because you kind of. I'm not saying I watch Leeds religiously or anything like that, but already you can see something different in the performance that they gave last night to suggest that they are willing to fight. I think that winger, I don't know how you pronounce his name, Noto, whatever. They signed for 4.5 million euros. He's from Italy. Great winger. So I think Ellen Road will be pumping on the weekend. Obviously there's a derby. So I think it's going to be a tough game for us, but I feel that we'll learn from yesterday's mistakes and we'll come out victorious 3-1.
Yeah, look, I think I should mention it. I think, and I think Silo will agree with me. Casemiro's sending off was ridiculous. So I think he misses the game because of this, right? Because of that, that was absolute nonsense. But I think Man United have it, and only because of one man, and his name is Rashford. He will score a solo run again. The guy's, like I said last time, he's on some other form. So I will say, and Leeds are open gates, bro. Whatever manager they have, they open gates. So I think it'll be a 4-2 or a 5-2 win to Man United.
No, man, 5-2, 4-2. Yeah, that's a bit all over the place, man. That's Bielsa's Leeds, man, not this Leeds. But do you guys agree that Rashford? Do you guys agree that Rashford's been the best player in the Premier League since the World Cup?
Yeah, no, it's not the same player. This I can guarantee you that as well.
But has he been the best player since the World Cup?
I mean, I can't.
At the top of my head now, I can't think of anyone.
Because
he's been on form.
Because he scored the most goals in Europe since the World Cup.
He's been scoring like mad. And have you seen the goals he scored?
And listen, guys, that guy was scoring. He scored a centre forward striker yesterday, guys. Benny McCarthy is doing the job.
It's all down to Benny McCarthy. Forget about Ten Hag.
Hey, he's taking a booty from Pirates. That's what is happening there, bro.
I think I'm just gonna go with a draw here. I'm gonna think Leeds. They had a bit of they got close to the promised land yesterday, and they're gonna be like, we can get something here. So I'm gonna say a point, and maybe it's my bias. It's what I'm hoping for. I'm making predictions like Wonga used to make predictions. Next game we're gonna say Man City versus Aston Villa.
Oh, it's Louis versus Vards.
Oh, that's a big one.
Oh, it is a big one. And I say Man City to win it. Many people have seen Man City on a terrible form. I just think Arsenal are very good as well. But anyways, Man City I think it's 2-0. I say 3-1. 3-1 to Man City. Aston Villa probably will score a goal. 3-1 to Man City. They are conceding more than usual.
Yeah, I think guys, Unai Emery is a good manager. He's got good players in his team. So definitely they do get a goal. So I say 2-1 to Man City.
Yeah, I think they could. What's interesting is he could go there and put some pressure, put Man City and Pep Guardiola under pressure. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, but if that happens, then surely the league's already all said and done pretty much, nearly there for Arsenal. But I think if this happens, then it's definitely going to be done. But Man City at home normally are stronger. So you're asking a lot for Emery. But I mean, what? 1 loss in 4 games, 3 wins, 1 draw. So they are in good form. So definitely going to say they're worth a goal, but Man City worth 2. So I'm going to say 2-1 to Aston Villa. Then a Monday's game. This one, oh no.
The Merseyside derby.
Yeah, Liverpool versus
Guys,
Everton.
Liverpool also garbage, horrible. Where's Mo Salah? Where the hell's Mo Salah? I think Diaz is sorely missed. I think he has made a huge difference to that squad. But where's Oaks? Like, do something. Jeez, every game getting knocked. Goodness me. What a fall! What a fall! I watched this team. I'm disappointed. I can't lie. It's bad. It's bad. It's really bad. It's very bad. I think there's no one in that club that's right now underestimating what the Liverpool are in. I say Everton.
I'm gonna be watching this match like with like a 6-pack of beer or something, Oh, blood! It's a Monday, damn it! But like I'm gonna be like, every time, Mo Salah misses a chance or something, gotta have a beer, you know what I mean? But it's tough.
You might be drunk by the end of the game, there, Cyril. You're gonna have to have someone tuck you in at night.
If Everton had confidence against Arsenal, they surely
have against Liverpool.
They surely believe they can beat Liverpool.
Will be here.
Yeah.
Guys. Can I tell you, Sean Dyche is going to walk into that this whole week. He's going to be saying to them, guys, I do not forget about Liverpool. I do not lose to Jurgen Klopp. So if you make me start here, you best believe you guys are being released. That's what's going to happen there. I don't think. And I think
I remember you guys losing to Burnley at Anfield. You know what I mean? So yeah, that says a lot. You know what I mean? I think Sean Dyche has Jurgen Klopp's number.
And to be fair, I say this is going to be a game that completely is going to capitalize on every single weakness we've had this season. A tired midfield, a team that's lacking fights, lacking confidence. They're going to rock up there and they're going to kick the shit out of the Liverpool players. It's going to intimidate them and they're going to be dreadful. And the Anfield's going to be quiet. The Evertonians are going to get loud. It's going to be, oh no, I don't even want to think about it.
So you agree with me, Claudia, that Man City must be ducked to points, right?
Yeah.
Now after this,
I think it doesn't matter, to be honest. What's been done has been done. I don't think like rectifying these. I don't think it happens like it. I think it's irrelevant there. Stella, what's your prediction there?
Yeah, man. Listen, I think it's going to be a 1-0 victory to Everton.
Oh,
I say 2-0. That's how Liverpool is. They concede. Yeah, Liverpool do much worse. Look at when you went into Brighton. I'm sure people thought we're gonna get them back. Oh, no ways. They scored the first goal. Remember they scored the first goal. Then it just became worse. They lost it.
They lost to Wolves 3-0 as well.
Yeah, and even Wolves. Who the hell thought they would lose to Wolves?
Guys, they've conceded 9 goals. They've conceded 9 goals in 4 games for the first time since 1993.
They're going to make it 4. It's late. It's going to be hectic. I say 2-0 to Everton. I might just put my money on it.
Yeah, no, look, I mean,
why
2-0 is a probable scoreline is because they're going to sit deep. You know how it is. Liverpool are going to struggle to score because that's what we've been struggling to do. We know they're fragile at the back. Everton will catch them from a set piece because we've been dreadful in set pieces as well. So it'll be 1-0. Then we're going to push on forward and they're going to hit us on the counter. So, I mean, it's been written, guys. There's the script. You don't even have to watch the game. That's what's going to happen there. It's going to be a frustrating one. And more questions are going to be asked about Jurgen Klopp's future and all the rest of it. But we will live and continue and wait for next season. And you know what? Forget about this game. Let me read you the next couple of games for Man City. Oh, sorry. I mean for Liverpool. They're going to play Everton. Then the next game is Newcastle. Then they go Champions League, play Real Madrid. Then they play Crystal Palace, and then they play Man United. So I think it's going to be a tricky run. Tricky run. It's going to be, I think, depending on what happens against Madrid for Jurgen Klopp. Oh, let's hope the worst doesn't happen there. But yes, it's not going to be a good time. I see for best case scenario, Liverpool get a point on Monday. So I'm going to go with 1-1, and that's me hoping. Right, gentlemen.
Yeah.
That pretty much leaves us with the show there. I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned in for the day or the evening. And guys, enjoy the games on the weekend, and we'll see you next week. Any final thoughts from your side?
Does Jurgen Klopp bounce back from it? That's my final thought. Does he bounce back? When I say bounce back, make it to bring them back to glories, at least top 4. I mean top 3.
All the best. All the best to the Premier League sides playing the Champions League next week. Yeah, it coincides with Valentine's Day, so man, choose your paddles wisely, man.
All right, gents. You know how to end the show. 3, 2, 1. Let's hear it.
Stop it.